everyone, my name is Gabby and today I'm going to be telling you about my spring break trip. So over spring break, myself and 15 other UMD students traveled to London, England to study the history of the British Empire. I decided to go on this trip for 4 different reasons. One being that it was 3 credits in 9 days, which sounds like totally amazing. I also love to travel and I haven't been to England yet. I wanted to make new friends and I wanted to learn more about the British Empire. Somehow throughout elementary school, middle school, and high school, I missed all of the education about England and Great Britain and all that kind of stuff, and I honestly still don't know the difference between the UK, the EU, England, who is Wales, where is Wales, what is Wales, and the 2 different Irelands. I thought there's just one. So there's a lot of stuff going on there that I just don't understand, that I kind of wanted to learn more about. So I was able to accomplish almost all of that. I got to make new friends, which I see pretty often still. I got my 3 credits in 9 days, even though it was a lot harder than any of us were expecting. I got to check another place off of my bucket list too. One thing that I did not do, however, was learn about the British Empire. Granted, every single day we spent 9 hours learning about the history of the British Empire, going to cool museums, having really interesting tours, but all the information went in through one ear and went out the other, and so I retained almost nothing about the history of the British Empire. However, there are 4 things that I actually did learn. One thing that I learned on my trip was that in London, at most restaurants, they actually charge you for water. And none of us realized that while we were at any of these restaurants. We only realized later on towards the end of the trip when we were trying to pay each other back for the bills. And we were looking at the receipts and we saw that at some places we were charged $10 and $15 for water. And the worst part was that the water was even good water. It wasn't sparkling, it had no bubbles or anything. It was just room temperature water with no ice. So we were pretty shocked because in America, of course, water is free almost anywhere, and you can pretty much just get water whenever for free. So that was definitely a big shock, and especially it was so expensive. It wasn't even $1 or $2. It was literally $10 for 2 or 3 glasses of water. Another thing that I learned was to bring layers, and I feel this goes without saying for some people, but if you're like me, maybe it does need to be said. Even though I checked the weather and it said it was gonna be 60 to 65 degrees, when we got there it turned out to be 50 degrees. And so naturally I was ooh, 60 degrees, it's spring break. I'm gonna just pack some dresses, some skirts, and it's gonna be cute, gonna get some cute pictures, it's gonna be awesome. But when I got there, I was pretty cold the whole entire time, and as I was going through the days being cold, I was just thinking about it, and my whole life I've always had this concept of Britain being super cold with overcast all the time and rain and stuff, and it was exactly like that when I got there. And I'm just not sure where that disconnect was in my head, where I was just yeah, I don't need a jacket, I don't need anything, I'm gonna be fine. So yeah, definitely recommend bringing layers. That would be a really wise idea. Another thing that you should know when you're going to London is the exchange rate. For some reason, I just did not look it up beforehand, which I feel most reasonable people do check before they go places what the exchange rate is. But of course, in my head, I'm yeah, it's Britain, and we're in America, the exchange rate should be the same, you know, $1 for $1 or $1 for £1, whatever. So I made a lot of really big purchases when I was there, not really realizing that I was spending more money there than I would spend if I were here. And then another added thing is the charge on my card for using it in a foreign country. So when I came back from London and checked my bank account, I realized that I had spent a lot more money than I was expecting, and I had no money left in my bank account. So definitely check the exchange rate before you go. Another thing I learned while I was in London was to mind the gap, or mind the gap. That was my really bad British accent, I'm really sorry. But basically, so they have a tube system, and the tube is similar to our metro system, except it's built super poorly because there are huge spaces in between the platforms and the trains. So some trains would be 3 feet below the platform, so you'd have to really mind the gap when you're trying to get onto the tube. And sometimes it would be 3 feet above, or 1 foot apart. So it would be you know, it's just kind of random every single station that you go to. And we rode the tube 4 or 5 times a day, so we definitely got used to minding the gap, and we definitely got acclimated to hearing the automated voice saying mind the gap every single time we went on and off a different train. So if you ever go to London, remember to mind the gap, pay attention to the exchange rate, always ask if the water is free, and bring layers. I hope that my video was entertaining and that you learned a little bit more about what you need to do if you're planning on going to London. Thanks.